YouTube and whether you should use YouTube to create and build upon your personal brand. My name is Dave Scriven-Young. I'm an attorney from Chicago, Illinois. I'm host of the Lawyer Lifestyle Podcast as well as the Lawyers Emotional Intelligence Book Club. You can find out about the latter at facebook.com/lawyersEQ. You can find the Lawyer Lifestyle Podcast on any of the podcast distribution platforms. So welcome on in, everybody. I go live pretty much every day at 8 a.m. Central to give you the content for today, just to have a discussion about marketing, sales, and leadership. Sometimes I talk about wellness as well. I also answer legal questions from the public as well as mentor young lawyers. So if you are not a lawyer but wanted to talk to a lawyer about a legal question that you might have, I'll be answering questions in the comments. Similarly, if you are a young lawyer who always wanted to ask a more experienced lawyer a question about anything, really about how to practice law, how to market your practice, how to deal with clients, how to deal with your assistant, anything that's really going on in your practice, I'm here to answer those questions as well. So welcome to everyone. Today's a special day in my house, my wife's birthday. So happy 29th birthday again to my wife. So let's get started with the content, and I just want to welcome everybody in. So hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Lawyer Lifestyle Podcast. My name is Dave Scriven-Young, an attorney from Chicago, Illinois, and I'll be your host. This podcast takes you on a daily journey to discover key principles in the areas of marketing, sales, and leadership for attorneys. As a reminder, I go live every day at 8 a.m. Central on social media. I'm at Attorney DSY to discuss the material for today, to answer legal questions, and to mentor young lawyers. I hope that you enjoy the discussion. And again, please, in the comments as we go along today, you have specific questions that you want to ask. Feel free to put those in the comments, or if you have any comments about what I'm talking about, please put those in as well. So today we're going to be talking about YouTube, and specifically why you want to use YouTube as a platform for your personal brand, but also to discover what your video should be about. And we're using Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Crushing It, as a platform. Now, I just want to give a caveat to this whole social media discussion. I don't claim to be, a social media expert. Yes, I'm on social media quite frequently and put out a lot of stuff, obviously, including this podcast and vlog and my video show on Wednesday night. But, I have a lot to learn, and that's why I'm actually going through Gary Vee's book. That's why I'm going through a lot of this material, because, these are things that I need to work on. And really, I'm documenting my journey and my learnings through this podcast, through these videos. And so if you have more experience using YouTube, for example, and you have a big following and you want to give us some tips, put those in the comments. Would love to learn from all of you. So why do we want to use YouTube to build your personal brand? Well, so frankly, number one, it's because it's one that Gary Vee used quite successfully. He started off with Wine Library TV, which essentially was a wine review show. So he came on, drank, tasted a bunch of wines and gave his opinions. It was as simple as that. And it made sense because, he was running the marketing for his father's liquor store, first called Discount Shoppers Liquors, if I recall right. And then, of course, they changed the name to Wine Library TV because he found that his customers actually collected wine. So it was an interesting transition, I think, from a store name or brand that sounded, much less sophisticated into something that became more sophisticated, more centered around collecting things and storing things. So that made a lot of sense. And that's where he got his start. And then after he talked about wine for many, many years, then he expanded into business content. He talked more about social media, how to market things. He had a show called the Ask Gary Vee Show, which was essentially a Q&A show. That turned more into the Ask Gary Vee show originally was people kind of like this show where people commented and then he answered questions from online, right? So if you would type a question into Twitter and post it using the hashtag #AskGaryVee, then his people would pick that up, and then if it was felt that it was worthy, then they would ask the question to Gary Vee on the show, and then he would answer it. Right. And then it evolved into a call-in show where people actually called in and asked him questions. And then it evolved further into an interview show where celebrities came on and they talked about, different things, including, marketing, social media, personal branding, and the like. So I just want to say hello to Casman on Twitter. And so, it's a really fascinating sort of expansion of Gary Vee's brand on YouTube. And so he further expanded that to his, part of what he says is document, don't create. So he actually started doing that on a daily YouTube show. And so, you saw his life from the moment he got up to, in the moment that he, closed down for bed. The only thing that he didn't show was personal family stuff, because he always said that his family is off limits. So you'll never see his wife. You'll never see his kids on his videos. But that is where, he really expanded and changed over time, and we have to do the same. So some things that Gary Vee talked about in his book about YouTube, it's probably the most important platform, he says, for building a personal brand, although Instagram is closing the gap quickly. He asked the question, could it replace television? Because, lots of people are now streaming YouTube on their television screens. And he says that during primetime hours on an average day in the U.S., more 18 to 49-year-olds visit YouTube than any television network, even on mobile alone, which I found really interesting. I can tell you sort of in my own family, and at least in what we do in my house, we watch a lot of YouTube on the television, especially since we got a new TV this past Christmas. We watch a lot of Disney content, a lot of Disney vloggers that are at the parks and have question and answer shows. We really enjoy that stuff, and I'm more apt to pop on a YouTube show about Disney than I am to watch anything else on regular television. And it seems like when we're watching regular television, we're more apt to watch old shows like Law and Order and other shows, cooking shows, and then anything that's brand new that's coming out. Although of course there's not a lot brand new coming up because of COVID and the quarantine and the like. But yeah, I wonder, sort of like, do you guys watch YouTube on your television? I'm sure you do. And it was interesting in the book. The book is a few years old, and so he says, well, some people are doing that, and you have to be very tech, savvy in order to do that. It's really not like that anymore. It's actually very easy. YouTube has developed, and TVs have developed that you're able to throw YouTube up on your TV. So could it replace television networks? I'm not sure about that, but it's an interesting concept. Another reason why you might want to use YouTube is you don't have to be camera ready unless you're a beauty vlogger, bodybuilder, or rising pop star. Now, some people would disagree with that, especially for lawyers, because I think people have a certain image of lawyers that you have to be professional, you have to look a certain way. If you notice, I very rarely wear a tie on this channel because to me this is more informal discussion than it is going to court. And actually, the truth is, if you're a lawyer and you're not typically not wearing a suit in the office, you're not typically wearing a tie every day to work. So why would I do it on this channel, right? You're basically, the only time I wear a tie is when I'm in a courtroom setting, or if I'm have a deposition that I'm doing, presenting a witness or asking questions, because that's a more formal setting. But things like being on this a video vlog, I feel like I don't really need to do that. You can, I'm sure people would correct me and say, well, you have to be, camera ready. You have to wear a suit every time you present yourself. But it's just a different way of thinking about it. And then the fifth reason to maybe start your have YouTube be a pillar for your personal brand is that, again, vlogging is a great way to document instead of create. Anyone can do it. You don't have to be accomplished. You're basically learning as you go. And Gary Vee talked about in his book, one thing you can do is, as an example, say you want to lose a bunch of weight. That's a great way to document your journey. Or like what I'm doing here, online, I'm documenting my journey to become a rainmaker and business developer and have a bigger personal brand online. So I don't claim to be an expert, but I'm just showing you things that you could do and things that I do. And so that's why I use, expert, text to sort of to riff off of to talk about, what people should be doing. I'm not prescribing advice. It's more like I'm prescribing advice for myself, and I'm hoping that people will come in and comment and give me their 2 cents on what they're doing, because I'm always learning and I am documenting my journey. So what should your videos be about? Well, I think I'm sort of beating this as a dead horse, right? But it should be about your passion, whatever it is, right? So if your passion is garage sailing or drinking wine or hockey, whatever it is, that's what your videos should be about, at least in the beginning, right? Now, if you can't decide what your passion is, one idea that I had is to document your journey to finding out what your passion is. Because really, the only way to find out what your passion is to try a bunch of things, right? To experiment. And it would be I think it would be really interesting to, for people to see, hey, this guy's really trying to find out what his passion is. So he's doing a bunch of stuff. He's, taking an art class. She's taking a theater class. He's taking voice lessons, or, he's going to try to skate for the very first time because he wants to try hockey. And I think it would be really interesting concept to do that, because I think everyone says, I don't know what my passion is. I can't figure out what that is. Well, the only way you're going to do that is by getting out there and by trying a lot of things, because otherwise you won't know what your passion is. You'll just be doing the same thing over and over again, and you obviously haven't found your passion yet, so you need to get out there and do things. That would be an interesting concept for a vlog. So, the point, I think, what Gary Vee is making is, just pick up your phone, pick up your camera, and post something. The delivery, the quality, the content of your show will naturally change over time. Think about what Gary Vee did. He went from, wine to business to social media and personal branding, and so many different ways that he's communicated over time, so many different ways his show has adjusted and changed, and yours will do the same. I mean, I'm just thinking about like how my show has changed over the years. I went from, just talking about a book to now having, now interviewing people on Tuesdays, to having this emotional intelligence show on Wednesday. And even that has evolved from just me talking to, I had my wife on a couple of episodes, and now I'm bringing in, expert guests in different areas. So like this Wednesday coming up, and the Lawyer's Emotional Intelligence Book Club, we're going to have Jeffrey Bunn come on and talk. He's a meditation coach, and that so happens to be what our chapter is in the Stress Solution by Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. So, and by the way, you can find out more about that at facebook.com/LawyersEQ. We'll be going live Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central. So anyway, it's really important just to get started and to give yourself time. Gary Vee says to give yourself a year, adjust, try different approaches, and see, what kind of response you'll get, and to listen to your audience. Don't let perfection be your enemy. And I think for lawyers, that's so hard. That's going to be probably the most difficult thing, is to put up your first video, because it's going to be bad. It's going to be so bad. But the nice thing is, no one is going to watch it. Right? No one is going to see that your content is bad. No one's going to see that your presentation and delivery skills are bad. But you can't let that be the enemy of putting on your first video, because YouTube is such an important way to express yourself, to get out there and to build your personal brand. And at the end of the day, after a year, one of two things are going to be true. You're either going to put out a lot of boring stuff and you're going to be documenting things that no one cares about. And then you'll know the platform is not right for you because, hey, no one's going to watch your show. No one's commenting. No one cares, right? Then you'll know, hey, I tried it and it's not for me. I'll move on to something else. Or you may break out and build an audience. So you really have to give time to build an audience, to change your delivery, to adjust your show, and then you'll really see, how things develop over time. So I just wanted, for your daily action item, I think the most important thing right now is to create if you don't have it, I would be surprised if you didn't have a YouTube account, especially people who are watching this show or listening to the show. But if you don't, go on YouTube. It's really easy. YouTube.com and, create an account and then really think about, what content do you want to talk about? Either you can do something like this kind of show where you're just talking to a camera and you're trying to develop an audience. You might just, if you do something interesting during the day, just documenting what you're doing. Or you might want to have people come on in interviews. I know there's a lot of, Zoom, type interviews. You can do what I do using Ustream and bringing guests on. So many different things that you could do, but just come up with one concept. And it could just be documenting your day. But come up with one concept today that you're going to use to build your personal brand on. So thank you so much for joining me today. It was great seeing everybody. And I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. And I will see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Central for the Lawyer Lifestyle Podcast. And again, hope everyone has a